welcome to my Q&A. It's so good to have you along, and I believe that Facebook is struggling to broadcast to my village group. So yeah, I'm not too sure how to correct that, but anyway, those of you who are watching, you have chosen the right link, so well done. I'm going to try and sort that out if I possibly can, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that now. But anyway, that was a great introduction to my talk tonight, which was Adam and his mandrel. So last week when I did this, I was speaking about Eve and her shiny red apple, and we chatted about ADHD in adults, particularly women and girls. And so tonight is dedicated to our better halves, and we're talking about the men in our lives. And when I took a photo of a certain mandrel in my house, I wonder if any of you saw that. Man drawer, and if you can remember any of the items that were in that drawer, because I've got some of them along here with me, and I'm going to show some of them to you because I really thought it was quite hilarious. Hi there, Cherie, it's good to have you along. Tanya Fouché, it's good to have you along as well. I hope you're going to find this helpful, and I really do want to encourage you to share this video with other people. This could be relevant to a work colleague, it could be relevant to a family member, it could be relevant to a partner, it could even be relevant to yourself. So feel free to share this link and to spread the word. I hope you've got yourself something cold to drink. It's Wine Day Wednesday for me, so I'm enjoying a glass of wine. I'm certainly not promoting anything evil with drinking a glass of wine, but I love my glass of wine on a Wednesday. So please, yeah, let's chat. We're going to talk about the men in our lives and adults with ADHD, and as I said, this is a Q&A. So I want this to be interactive. This is not a webinar. I think we're all webinared out. I certainly am, and I want this to really be just a chat, an informal chat. Send me your comments. Send me your funny stories. Anything that you can relate to. Let me know if it relates to you, and if there's something that you would like to share. This is, like I said, it's not a lecture at all. So in the particular man drawer that I looked at today, I found these strange objects. Now, I don't know computers that well, but I do know that this comes from a computer, and that was in the bottom of the man drawer. There was also this particular piece of jewelry, no strap. In fact, there was a strap, but it was loose. It wasn't attached to this, and I don't think it was the strap that belongs with that watch. Then there was a piece of Lego. Oops, let me get that in front there. There was a piece of Lego. Yep. Michael McIntyre mentioned the cable. There was a cable, no idea where that belongs, but it has a yellow end and another yellow end. We then have a battery, an energizer battery. What that belongs to, I have no idea. If any of you know what battery that would go into, please let me know. Maybe it's a watch. I have no idea. And then we have quite a few of these. Just really empty pens, nothing in them, just empty pens. And then these classic student cards, 91 students, also 91 students, 92 students from NMU, another 91, 89, oh, very, very important. And a 90. Recognize that person over there? Yes. So some student cards. And then the key, people. The key. We have no idea where this key belongs. There's no label attached, but it's a key. It's the rusty old key from somewhere. So yes, I think that if you can relate to a man drawer, you will probably find some similar things in that man drawer. Oh, the other thing that I found, strangely enough, in the man drawer is a desk organizer. This is a desk organizer that I think my nephew made for for us. It's a beautiful desk organizer with pen holders. I don't think it's ever been used. And there's also a very, very lovely but completely blank notebook or diary, completely blank. So yes, if you can relate to any of that, yeah, let us know in the comments. But let's start, everybody. So we're going to talk about Adam. So I've made Adam the stereotype for today. Eve was our stereotype, female. This is our stereotype, Adam, today. So Adam is 43 and he works for or he's actually a graphic designer. He's incredibly creative. And the problem with this diagnosis of ADHD is that the DSM-5 has got certain criteria that relate to a person with ADHD, but that person has to be between the ages of 6 and 12. There isn't really a proper diagnosis for adults, which means that we have many opportunities to misdiagnose or not diagnose correctly and treat this person with the wrong, completely the wrong medication or treatment. So that is the challenge that we have, is that there is no proper diagnosis for adults with ADHD. We have to look at symptoms, or we have to look at how they present, or how their characteristics. So like I said, the most times when a person is diagnosed with ADHD, it's because the desperate spouse has said to them, if you do not go to the doctor, I am going to strangle you. Or the desperate parent has seen their children struggling, their child has been diagnosed with ADHD, and they realize they are exactly like their child. And so there are questions being asked there. So let's get back to Adam. So Adam is 43. He works for he's a graphic designer. And as a lad, he was a dude with a death wish. He has the scars on his knees to prove it. He's a risk taker. He always was a risk taker. Often you would shoot his mouth off or put his foot in it many, many times. He has quite dangerous hobbies. He enjoys fast, sort of extreme sports. But on the other hand, he has great energy, he has a good sense of humor. He's very popular. People love to be around him because he's so positive and he has a great sense of humor. He's fun-loving. He can also hyper-focus on something that he's very passionate about and interested in. He has intense emotions. In other words, he's either very, very happy or he's very, very sad. We already said that he's very creative. And then he's also very untidy, usually untidy, disorganized, and he's a bit of a hoarder. A hoarder. That's where the man draw comes in, is they don't like to throw things away. So often you'll find their closets will be an absolute mess. Clothes will be partially rolled up or just thrown back in there. There will be no sort of organization with where things must go. The garage, if he has one, will be a mess. His toolbox, if he has one, will be a mess. So yeah, it's quite obvious that this person struggles to have order in his world. He also might be quite shy, sometimes socially awkward, especially amongst people that he doesn't know. And sometimes he tries too hard when he's in a group with people he doesn't know. He tries too hard to either be too funny or too clever or too smart or too serious or too philosophical, or so he doesn't quite know how to read social cues sometimes, and he doesn't quite know how to blend in with the crowd. So yeah, I think if you recognize yourself in anything here, or if you recognize with your spouse or your partner in any of these, please let me know that I'm on the right track. Like I said, I'm not an expert in this. I've just come across many parents. I live with ADHD. There's ADHD in my family. So yeah, I think I have some experience of this issue. Mary, I have a man drawer. Yes, I actually also have a man drawer. It's called a handbag, Mary. And if you had to look in my handbag, you would find all kinds of bits and bobs, things that I really don't need but can't do without. So yeah, I don't think we must be too hard on the men in our lives, because definitely my handbag is a bit of a disaster area. And I think I have makeup. I have mascara in my makeup box that I possibly used when I was still at school. So I really can't point fingers at this point. Right, so Adam and his need for speed. So let's look at the three types or the three components of ADHD. We mentioned this very briefly in part 2 when I chatted about Eve and the 3 components. So the first one is inattention, or selected attention. So in other words, we know that a man can focus on the television and the wife can run up and down in front of him and he won't bat an eyelid, or he can sleep through a thunderstorm and won't wake up, or he can hyper focus on a task in order to get it done. So we really find that that if there's something that he really, really is interested in or passionate about, it'll be very difficult to pull him away from something. He wants to do it and finish it, and nothing you can do will sort of remove him from that task. And if you had to ask him to do that same task, he wouldn't want to do it. So it has to be something that he has selected that he wants to do. So that is the inattention. There's either the inattention or the selective attention with hyperfocus. The second component is this inner restlessness or hyperarousal. So not all people with ADHD have that hyperactivity, but some people do struggle to settle down, to relax. Their brain is very wired. They're constantly on the go. They jiggle their leg. They really battle to settle down and watch a series. There's always something going on in their brain. They struggle to switch it off at night. And there is this definite inner restlessness that happens. The third thing is this rejection sensitivity. Now, with ladies, we spoke about being a people pleaser. That ladies, we have this self-esteem issue that we want to always strive to be perfect, and we always want to make sure that we are towing the line and that we are people pleasers. The men, on the other hand, they have this fear of being rejected, criticized, or embarrassed. So they are constantly on the lookout to make sure that they are not going to be ridiculed or sort of made fun of. So, again, we have this inner desire to be seen to be normal and to be seen to be fitting in with the crowd. But at the end of the day, people with ADHD are really extraordinary in what they are able to do. And I get quite upset when parents say, my child has been diagnosed with this condition and it's terrible. And I don't know what to do. And I almost want to say, but it's a gift. As long as it's channeled in the right direction, as long as he is able to cope with it and compensate. And there are so many things that we can do and we can teach a person to be able to live with ADHD and actually strive and be the best version of themselves. So as adults, we get the opportunity to choose the career that we want to choose. We are able to choose the career that suits our personality and our sort of character the best. So if you're somebody with ADHD, you cannot sit at a desk and sit still from 9 to 5. I think you'll go crazy. You're probably the type of person that needs to be constantly on the go. So either you need to be somebody who has to walk up and down, so you're on a building site, or you work in a hospital where there are long corridors and you have to walk around a lot, or you're constantly doing different things all the time. There's variety in your work. That is so important, because I think when you have a lot of energy and you're confined to a space, to a desk, to an office, to a job, to a task that is very boring, I think you will struggle with that. So it's about finding the right fit for your situation and your personality. So talking about the kind of jobs or the kind of careers that you have, Michael Phelps, the swimmer, he has ADHD. Somebody like will.i.am, the musician, John Lennon had ADHD. I've lost his name now. Leonardo da Vinci, the inventor, he had ADHD apparently. Richard Branson, the entrepreneur, he has ADHD. So there are some amazing, very extraordinary, gifted, genius people who have found a way to channel their ADHD. They're excellent problem solvers. These are the people that you really want in a crisis, because they'll be able to act on their feet. They'll be able to find a way out of a situation. If there's a fire in your building, boy, do you want somebody with ADHD to be there, because they will act in an instant. They won't dwell on anything. They will act. They will move. Firefighters, the armed response, first response kind of people. They have this immediate ability to just think and do. There's no filter. They seem to be younger than their biological age. They have this curiosity about the world. They are constantly learning. They're constantly curious, and they're very forgiving and loyal people. Like I said earlier, they have these intense emotions, but again, the intense emotions can also be very positive because they are they're very intense and passionate about things. So a lot of the brand ambassadors for causes, they are involved there because that's where their energy, they've got lots of energy to spend. On the flip side of that, obviously, on the good side, then there's always a not so good side. So on the other side, these people tend to, because they're very intense, their emotions are very intense. They intend to shoot their mouth off. They sometimes are very impulsive, and they could say things that are inappropriate. They might get into trouble at work because they might say something that isn't appropriate or isn't politically correct. If they switch, they might switch careers quite a lot. They might job hop. They might be people who struggle to be punctual. They're late for meetings. They're disorganized. They miss deadlines. All the sort of problems come in where they don't have a strategy, or they don't have a routine, or they struggle to manage themselves. So time management, their desk is a mess, all of that sort of thing. There are also addictions that might come into play. They might self-medicate with alcohol or drugs because they're struggling with all this inner turmoil. They're constantly making mistakes, or they're constantly failing, or they're constantly getting into trouble. Now, remember, these kids at school, these kids with ADHD at school, their behavior would be external. So they would be the ones who are getting into trouble. They are rude. They are hyperactive in the classroom. They make a noise. They are the class clown. They don't hand in work. They forget their books. Their suitcase is a mess. They've got lunch in their lunchbox from last term. They are obviously, you can see on the outside, the exterior is that they have this sort of bubbling up of energy. And so at school, they would be called the class clown, or the teachers would know them as somebody who's naughty and misbehaves or is cheeky. But actually, they just struggle to manage and control what's going on inside them. So the adult then, on the other hand, he might be prone to road rage. He might be prone to throw tantrums. He might have a quick temper, like I said, is impatient, can't tolerate incompetence, or people who are slow in getting things done, or anything like that. So we've spoken about the ADHD young boy. Then how to help. So when you look at treatment for ADHD, there's generally medication comes into play, because medication needs to level the playing field. Obviously, a neurotypical adult, they could cope with most things. A person with ADHD, the brain chemistry is wired completely differently. So the chemistry of the brain is such that there's just no pattern. It's just almost like a plate of spaghetti. And the medication just helps to order those thoughts. It helps to slow down the thoughts coming in. It slows down the processing, so that almost like the brain, the body can catch up with the brain, if that makes sense. So medication is always involved, and so is having a new set of rules. So people with ADHD, they might not think that they like routine and rules and what have you, but they actually do. So in terms of being able to accept who I am, why I am like I am, why I do what I do is the first step. It's just that awareness of why I do what I do. Why am I different to most people? Why do I keep dropping the ball? Why do I keep forgetting my child from soccer, or being an hour late when I need to be at a meeting at 2, I'm there at 3, or whatever it is? They just constantly down on themselves because they are dropping the ball all the time. So it's about coming up with a plan, coming up with some kind of a method for them to be able to manage this condition. I don't like the word condition, but yeah. So it's about drawing up your own owner's manual, your own set of directions, or what you need in order to be able to cope. So before the age of smartphones, I think men had a harder time. With smartphones now, there's an app for almost anything. You can set your alarm, you can set your timer. There's an app that will remind you to get up and walk around. There's an app that reminds you to drink water. There's a shopping list that you can put on your phone. There's all kinds of notifications and things that are going to help you to manage yourself a lot better. So without a smartphone, everything would then have to be written down. So use the smartphone, use your calendars, use your diaries, use Siri. I mean, we've all got Siri or Hey Google. What would we do without that? So support from others is also very important. So if you're a partner or a spouse or a wife or a daughter or a cousin of somebody who's struggling with ADHD, I think we need to just cut them some slack, and I think we need to be empathetic and be sympathetic and give them an opportunity to just be aware of what they struggle with and give them ways and means to cope with what they're struggling with. So we speak about being a cheerleader for somebody with ADHD. You really can't be that other person that's bringing them down all the time. We've got to be the ones to build up that self-esteem. And sure, I mean, don't allow them to shout and scream and throw tantrums and maybe be verbally abusive, because sometimes they do that. In the heat of the moment, that car cuts in front of you, you're gonna shout and scream and swear and all kinds of things in the heat of the moment. But we know we can't do that with people that we love. So don't allow the verbal abuse or don't allow that tantrum, but know where it's coming from, know why it happens. So that is the important job of the cheerleader in the family or the spouse or whatever, and encourage them to maybe go and see a doctor or go and see somebody that can help them work through some of the things that they are struggling with. We know that ADHD is not a disease, cannot be caught from somebody else. We know that it's hereditary, and we also know that the same number of men suffer from ADHD than women do. It's not a male thing. There's the same amount of people with ladies with ADHD than men. It's just that men externalize it more, women, we internalize it more, and we can hide it a lot better. Also exercising regularly, making sure that you're getting lots of exercise, use up that excess serotonin, get those endorphins flowing, because with ADHD often comes psychological problems too, like depression and anxiety. So you don't want to go and get something for anxiety or depression when actually it's ADHD. So that is why it is so important that you diagnose this thing properly and that you just manage it better. So we say let Adam keep his man drawer. If that is what he needs and has in his life, just make sure that he only has one of them and that there isn't a man drawer in every single drawer of the house. And yeah, like I said, as a lady, I also do have a man drawer. It's just called a handbag. So basically that's it. Is there any are there any questions or anything else that you would like to ask? I want to show you quickly my mind map, my scribble. I think I showed you my scribble last week of the female one that I did. It was this beautiful flower that I scribbled my notes down onto. And this is my one for today. So I started with the grass at the bottom because I wanted you to know that who I am. My name is Philippa Fabry. I'm an education consultant here in Port Elizabeth, and I'm one of the directors of Elton Academy. And I have an interest and a passion and a desire to help children and adults with various issues that they might be struggling with, specifically in terms of school, the classroom, teaching and learning, and all of that. What you hopefully you've learned today is that ADHD is very common in men and in women, that it has three components, that there is the inattentive or selective attention or hyperfocus, there is the hyperactivity or restlessness or energy, and then there is the intense emotions or what we call, I can't remember the name now, but it's basically they really have very, very highs or very, very lows. So they struggle to snap out of a mood. They have these often mood swings, and when they're down, they're very down. When they're up, they're very up, and they struggle to snap out of the moods. They're very energetic. They have an amazing sense of humor. They're loving. They're loyal. So we spoke about the good sides of ADHD. The not so good sides would be things like having road rage, temper tantrums. They're very quick to fly off the handle. They might be inappropriate. They might be socially awkward. They're messy, untidy, disorganized. Remember, these are stereotypes. I'm not saying that every man with ADHD might have this. I'm not saying that every man has this. I'm saying that this is the textbook ADHD type man that I have identified as Adam in terms of this video. So we spoke about the 3 subtypes. We spoke about the types of characteristics or personality traits that they may have, the fact that they might jump from one career to the other because they really haven't found their niche yet. They're good to have an emergency because they think on their feet. They're good problem solvers. They are entrepreneurs. They're inventors, all of that. They are often unreliable. They might forget things. They might have psychological disorders like addictions, like anxieties, depressions, that there might also be addictions or self-medicating behaviors. Gambling is also sometimes quite a problem because they are very irresponsible with how they spend their money. So they might sort of spend their money on a Harley instead of putting money away for varsity fees, for example. They also tend to be very jealous partners. I didn't speak about the ADHD partner. So because of the self-esteem issues and the fact that they have lived their whole life with dropping the ball and being, I suppose, constantly on the back foot, the low self-esteem sort of drives them to be very jealous or controlling over their partner, which there again might bring in that verbal abuse. Where they can be quite nasty. Again, they fly off the handle. They don't often think before they talk. So they might be a controlling, kind of possessive type of partner. And it's only because of their own issues. It's got nothing to do with the partner. So it's just about understanding, again, where that is coming from. The rejection sensitivity, that's the word I was trying to think of, where they struggle to, they always, well, they're not, they think that they have this perception that they are not good enough, or that they might be teased or ridiculed, or that they might be embarrassing or something like that. So yeah, just as a closing, to help, just to be understanding, have empathy, the medication, go and see a doctor, or go and see a psychiatrist or a psychologist you can chat to and see whether there's something that you can do about it. There are life coaches, there's counseling, there's ways and means of being able to channel the energy so that it doesn't become debilitating and doesn't get in the way of your family life. Because I think the most important thing is, when you have ADHD in the family, is to understand it, give them the space, know where it's coming from, understand why they are like they are, and just try and create this sense of calm, because in their lives there's very little calm. It's just pandemonium. They're running from one thing to the next. They're on this treadmill. It's stressful, and they're all over the place. It's like it's just a constant kind of trying to keep up with the pack. So it's about trying to be your partner, your child, your father, your cousin, your brother's cheerleader, and just keep positive all the time. Make sure that their energies are being channeled in the right direction, and give them creative tasks to do, because they love doing things like that. So many of the ADHD people that I do know are artists, they're musicians, they are authors, they are music producers, they're on the stage, they're in the arts. They are completely, they use their whole body. So they think on their feet, but they also think with their whole body. They feel with their whole body. It's an intense kind of feeling that they have. They're amazing people. We are amazing people. ADHD people, I think, are amazing people. We just think we are completely wired differently. So I hope that I hope that I haven't gone too fast. I really don't want these sessions to be boring. I want to be able to help. I want to be able to throw light on things that people are struggling with, or that they might be questioning themselves. So if you have watched this and you have enjoyed it, please share it. Talk to your partner, your spouse, your husband, your father, your brother, your best friend about this issue. Share it with them, and I'm happy to do more. The next one that I'm going to be doing, which is part 4, at the end of this week, will be the children. So we've spoken about ADHD in general, we spoke about the female, we spoke about the male, and next week we're going to speak about the children, ADHD children, and how best to support them at home and at school. The other series that I'm going to be working on is, I wanted to talk about laziness and the myth of laziness, and the fact that laziness is often seen as something that's, teenagers are lazy, or it's something that is a negative condition, and it's almost something that is annoying. But the reason why people are lazy is because they struggle with output. So there's this output failure. It's the myth of laziness. So they struggle to put out. So when we talk about things like handing in homework or planning a project or doing something on time, making sure that they stick to deadlines, being able to write and produce and do something, think of the output, the production of things. If you struggle with production, there's generally a processing issue. So what we want to do in terms of this is to create a series of workshops or training manuals or anything that can help with these executive functioning skills, so that people can be more productive and be able to do things better. Children who are struggling with the expectations of school, the expectations of studying, adults who are struggling with work and being able to, produce and be successful at work. So these are things, this is the next thing I've been working on. So I don't know what it's going to be called yet, but it's going to be based on this book called The Myth of Laziness by Dr. Mel Levine. And I will be getting checklists together so that you can maybe identify which area of the executive functioning skills do you struggle with the most. And then we can work on ways and means of helping you with that. It could be attention, it could be writing, it could be your motor control, your muscles, it could be your memory. All these things are important parts of what our brains need in order to be able to learn and work properly. So there's a question, Maddie. Thank you for your question. It's what do you learn from your life? I think I've read that correctly. What do you learn from your life? So Maddie, what I'm learning at the moment is that there is no limits to learning. So you never stop learning. I'm constantly curious about the world and about how people learn, how people thrive, how children learn, how resilient children are. And I think for me, I'm constantly on the internet researching, looking at why people do things that they do, why children do things that they do. And that to me is something so exciting, because I've been able to, because I'm such a passionate researcher, I've accumulated so much resources that I just want to share. So my PFEC Village group is where I'm going to be doing these little talks from, and you can really pop in there. Welcome to the village, and we can then share and become a support for one another. The other page that I've got is my Philippa Fabry Education Consultant page, and again, it's a bit of a wider reach, but you're welcome to have a look there as well. But like I said, I will never stop learning, and I'll never feel that I know everything that there is to know about education and inclusive education and remedial education and learning and all of that. Gail, happy evening to you too. I hope you've enjoyed what we've done this evening. I feel like I have really raced through, but I know that our times are short, and that we get bored very quickly. Our concentration spans are very short. So for those of you who have hung around, if you want to drop your email address in the comments, I have a PDF that I shared last week that is a checklist for the ladies and the girls in terms of not diagnosing, but it's a checklist for ADHD in adults, girls and women. And I will obviously be sharing this webinar tonight, or Q&A, as an article that will go onto my Facebook page tomorrow. As a blog, it's called Adam and His Mandraw, and you can share that and read that as well. Like I said, I literally just breezed through it as fast as I could, but there's more information in there about the adults, the Adams, stereotypical men with ADHD that we call Adam. So if you would like me to send you that in an email, please send me put your email in the comments, and maybe diarize next Wednesday at 8 o'clock. With me at 8 o'clock on the village, or on my page, or on my Philippa Fabry normal profile. It's going to be on there as well. So you are more than welcome to watch it anywhere, and it will be on, it'll stay on, so you can watch it again later. Or if you don't manage to join me at 8 o'clock, you can always watch it later. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found this informative. And yeah, like I said, be kind, be empathetic, and hopefully your family will you'll be able to the way you are, the way you receive this information, and you'll be able to be a lot more I suppose sensitive and positive towards the people who are struggling with ADHD around you. So I'm going to stop there. I'm mumbling, and I don't know why, because I've literally had 2 sips of wine. But enjoy your evening, yes, and enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I really, really appreciate it. All the best. Bye-bye.